Alright guys, well welcome back to another episode of Uncle Pookie's Barbecue. We're going to jump right in on this one because it's a little more involved than what I'm normally doing on YouTube here. What we're going to do is take this full tenderloin. Now it's not full lengthwise, it's about a 6-pound pork loin. I'm going to get myself confused. This is not a tenderloin, this is a full-size pork loin, about a 6-pound. What I'm going to do is take it out of the wrap and kind of fillet it. I'm going to unroll it and then make up a apple chutney to put inside of it, roll it back up, and then smoke the whole thing as a stuffed pork loin. Be honest with you as I'm opening this up, I've heard the phrase chutney many times and not really fully understood what that is, so just to inform the less educated as myself, basically a chutney is just kind of like a fruit relish, base of fruit, some sort of, in our case, we're going to make an apple chutney where you mix fruits and vegetables and spices together. So we are going to mix up some apple and some onion with some seasonings, some garlic powder, some curry powder, and some ginger powder. And remember what all I put in here, what I'm going to put in here. Mix that together and then just kind of spread it along inside this pork loin and then tie it back up and wrap it before I smoke it. So let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, now this is a full-size tender. I'm going to keep calling it a tenderloin. This is a full-size pork loin, just a cut-down version of it. And what I want to do is get rid of any of this silver skin, just like any of your other videos, my other videos that you've watched. You know, I'm heavy on the trim as far as something to do before you actually cook. I'd rather do some work on the front end to get rid of stuff that I don't want to deal with when I'm getting ready to eat. Now, I'd like to keep this fat on here, but there's some silver skin underneath it, and I really don't want that. You can see right here, underneath that fat layer, there's a good bit of this silver skin. And as I unroll this, I want it to, I don't want anything like this silver skin to come back around and be right there at the surface of the meat that I'm wanting to do something else. So I'll sacrifice some of this fat that I'd like to keep on this pork loin in order to get rid of this silver skin. So that's what we're doing right now. And then too, we're gonna trim up rather heavy, because again, this is not just a surface issue. This is going to be unwrapped, basically unrolled, so that we can put this chutney stuffing in and then roll it back up. And I don't want something, a snaggle piece of meat or something, to affect the end result, the end product. So that's what we're doing here. It's, like I said, it's kind of a sin for me to be cutting off all this fat, especially on a pork loin that's so lean. But to get rid of the silver skin, it's just something we got to do. So trying to get underneath without getting too much of this meat, especially right now. Meat prices are so high. I don't want to waste anything if I don't have to. And this is another one of those situations where a good sharp knife makes all the difference in the world. Thank you again to Mad Cow Cutlery and some of the products they have. I have yet to experience anything that has not satisfied as far as the sharpness when it gets here. So we're just going to keep on here. And now this is where we come into the butcher side, where they were packaging this. It's got a few little snags on it, little shards of meat that could have been cleaned off a little bit better, but it is what it is. So I'm just going to kind of clean up this edge. And I may use that as a starting point. I was thinking I was going to cut it off, but let me see how this other bit of fat trimming comes along here. Technique to unrolling this is where it does get a little bit tricky, and you really have to pay attention to what we're doing when it comes time to getting this thing opened up so that you can put a stuffing in it. Okay, it's not too bad. Like I said, there's a little bit here that could have been done a little bit better, but we're gonna see how it all comes together. All right, now what you're gonna do, you could go in and just open it up in half, but I like it to kind of roll. When you cut slices out of the final product, I like for you to see the spiral kind of. So I'm gonna try, and I've done this a couple of times and seems to work out okay. What I'm gonna do is just kind of cut down the end of this pork loin till I've got about a half to a quarter of an inch flapped over. I don't know if you can really see this well, but I've just cut the edge off where that natural seam was, and then I'm going to just come right along where I've just cut and cut another seam. And we're just going to basically keep doing this and unroll this pork loin. Try to keep a uniform thickness as I'm cutting. There we go. And you can see we're making progress. Right in here, slow and steady definitely wins the race. You don't want to get too fired up on this and then start losing, changing thickness of the meat and all that. You want to try to keep it as even and as steady as you can. And it's hard to, because when you're cutting across it, you want to kind of cut at an angle, at least I do. And that's where you really got to be careful into how you're opening this up. I'm already kind of getting a little jagged here, getting a little too in a rush. I'm uneven with my cut, so we're going to try to straighten this back out here. And this is not the easiest thing in the world to do. Like I said, it takes patience. Yep, I've busted through a little bit there. So again, it's something you're going to come and realize that it's not going to be completely perfect. But that's why I show you all my errors in this channel. I want you to see that it's one of those things that takes a little patience, and it just kind of have to work it out. Learn as we go. Like I said, this is where it gets tough. You start out at a really nice thin angle, and it gets a little thicker on the end because you're not really paying attention, or you're getting distracted, or whatever it may be. So we're just gonna leave that like it is. It's a little thick when we get to this end here, but it's also hard to see. I know I'm shaking the camera a lot trying to get this done, but we'll see how this comes together. If we can roll it up this way and then basically just roll it all right back together to tie it up. It looks like maybe I'm not going to take all the blame on that. That looks like one of the butcher marks there that gouged through on that. So that's not my fault. Butcher's not here to, whoever packaged this product's not here to defend themselves. So I'm going to take liberty with that here. And that's one area where I was talking about where that silver skin on the end, I could not see that. So that's going to come back maybe. Hopefully we'll cook out of that. So we'll see how that goes. Let me put this over to the side just a little bit here. And we'll get to the fun part. Got one whole apple, and what I did was just kind of cut that apple up where I could get most of that skin removed. I don't want a whole lot of the apple skin in there. And then one whole yellow onion. Now, I'm not going to use the whole thing. maybe about half here. And this is a mixture, like I said, of curry powder, garlic powder, and some ginger powder. Gonna mix all this in together. And one more product, a little secret ingredient. Hold on just a minute. I'm gonna pause the camera and go get my bottle, and I'll be right back. Alright, well, back here, and this is our secret ingredient. Now, the chutney recipes I've read talk about adding honey and maybe molasses, a little bit of different types of syrup to sweeten up the mixture, not to get too much heat or too much spice in, to make it a nice blend. Well, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to make this the easy way. I'm going to add this product here. I don't know if you could see this real well. It's from Glazes, and they have a line of sweet heat glazes, kind of what I like to call them. This particular one is apple heat. They call these competition finishing glazes, and they've got a really nice, strong, sweet flavor, whichever one you're purchasing. They have a peach heat, a pineapple heat, a apple heat, a cherry heat. I'm not sure how many others they have, but I've been using their products for a little while, and it is really, really good. Got a nice apple flavor with a little back heat to it, and a strong safety label too. But they've been really, really good to us. They are not a sponsor yet, hint, hint. But the flavors have been really, really good to us in competitions, and so that is what I'm going to add. Instead of getting honey, sugar, syrups, all these different things, and melting them down and cooking them down, I'm going to do it the easy way and let Mr. Dagles do all this for me. Now you notice the apples and the onions, those were fresh. They were not cooked. A lot of the chutneys you will cook the vegetables and the fruit down a little bit. I'm not going to in this case, simply because we're going to be cooking the pork. We're going to be smoking it, and I don't want those vegetables or the fruit to get too soft. So I'm going to leave it raw and let it cook while the pork is cooking. So we're going to add a little bit of this apple heat to the apple, the onion, and seasonings here, and mix this up a little bit. See if I feel like we need to add a little bit more, we can. Now, this is almost a 50-50 mix of apple and onion. This is my first chutney, so I may find out, because I don't mind onion, but I'm not the biggest fan. Cooked onion is good, so hopefully this will cook very, very well with the pork. Apple is always good with pork. I did want to put minced garlic in. Found out right before filming that we didn't have any more minced garlic, so we went with garlic powder. Sometimes you do what you got to do. I think that's good. I may add just a little bit more here, because I do want that glaze to really be all throughout. And like I said, it is a sweet heat. It is you definitely get the sweet, syrupy apple flavor, and then the heat does come on right back there a few seconds later and comes and gets you. So I think we'll be in good shape there. And I'm just going to spread this now, knowing that it gets back in frame here, knowing that the ends would naturally kind of seep out during the cook. I'm going to try to not put as much of this all the way end to end. We'll kind of mix it around here in just a minute, but I'm going to try to get as much of this out as I can. And of course we do have the little hole in there that's going to seep a little bit too. So I'm just going to try to mix this around a little bit, get it where we've got a good even coat, all of it. And of course it's going to find its way through the meat as we get it rolled up and tied up here. All right, so, and pause again. Let me get another glove. I'll be right back. And here we go again. One other thing that I had forgotten to mention too, we're going to rub the inside and out with Uncle Pookie's honey jalapeno. Yeah, I'm not real sure how well the camera picks this up, but we're just going to put a light coat on the inside to add a little bit more sweet. And then the jalapeno in this rub is not really hot at all. If anything, it's just the pepper flavor, which is what I'm liking here. I don't really want this to be a real spicy recipe, so we're just going to put a nice even coat on the inside for the meat. And then once we get it rolled up, we're going to do it again for the outside. So we're just going to roll this right up. I want some of this, the syrupy, the sweet heat, the apple heat glaze, I want some of it to do what it's doing now to get out so that I can kind of put it on the outside as an outside layer as well. Now what we're going to do is make a few cuts here. We're going to get some butcher twine and tie this thing up into slices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 pieces of twine here. Lay these out. A little mixture off to the side just a minute. And I'm running out of space real quick here. Let's do this. Yeah. This may actually work the way it is. Alright, so we're going to tie the ends extra tight because I don't want much of this to seep out from the end pieces. That's easier said than done with one set of hands sometimes. Alright. And this end here, do the same. I'm losing a little bit as we speak, but we're just going to have to make this work. Hopefully these ends will be tight enough where we won't lose a whole lot, and I'm not concerned about making these middle pieces real tight. Just to keep the roll is basically all we're trying to do here. This channel and my videos here, we're not as concerned about appearance. This is not a competition video. This is eating food here. We're going to feed the family, feed friends, that type of thing, but just trying some new flavors, some new techniques. And that is all we're about right now. So bear with me as we move on through here. All right, so I'm just going to cut off all of our excess here. We're done with that bowl. We can go ahead and put our twine in there. Get it out of the way. And hopefully our holes there, the butcher holes in the middle of the pork loin, kind of sealed up. Hopefully it didn't open up too much on that. Alright, so we have our pork loin rolled here. Again, I'm just going to kind of take this glaze and mop over. It's spilled out on the cutting board. And we can easily just kind of roll around it a little bit. and some of the seasoning has come out. So we're going to re-season here. Now the outside edge, I want to get it a little bit heavier than the inside. This is where we're going to have a little bit of a bark, a little bit of a crust, if you will. And we're not rubbing this in, we're just patting it. We've rubbed the glaze on there, so it's going to immediately soak. There's no need for any other additional binders or anything like that. Try to keep it as even as possible. We got some rub on the cutting board anyway that's been coming through with this glaze. And I'm going to put another little coat of rub on here when I get the fire started. So that's got us fixed up for right now. We're going to go ahead and get the fire started. We're going to do this on the drum smoker and then set a probe in the meat so that we can keep an eye on that, and we'll be right back. Alright, here we go. The fire is good and rolling. So we're going to put this pork loin right center of the smoker. Kind of press it together a little bit. And I'm going to put another layer of the honey jalapeno rub over the top of it. We got this fire going with my good friends at Jealous Devil Charcoal. They've really proven themselves. Their lump charcoal works really good in these drum smokers. Gives a good consistent heat. Does not have a lot of flavor to the smoke on the charcoal itself. So my pecan and my cherry wood chunks that are in here right now are definitely coming through in this smoke. What I've got here, watched any of my other videos, I'm really falling in love with these new dual sensor probes from TapQ. There's a little crimp in the probe. I don't know if it comes through, but right there is an ambient probe. So the meat sensor down at the end will tell me what temperature the meat is. And then real close to the meat, which is the most important, it's telling me what the air temperature is. So that's working out really well. I'm just going to kind of poke this in the meat at an angle. I don't want to be in too far, so I want to make sure that I am in the meat and not coming all the way through to the bottom. So we've got that going. We're going to go ahead and put this lid on here, get the probe hooked up to the main unit, and we are in business. We will check back here in a little bit and see how everything's progressing. Stay tuned. Okay guys, the internal temp, the temp probe is reading 145. And that is gorgeous. Let's see if I can get a little more light on the subject. Oh yeah. Alright. What I'm going to do is put just a little more of that apple heat across the top of this. And I'm going to take the probe out now since I know what's going on with it. Internal temp is where we want it. We want to pull it about 150 and then let it sit and rest for a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little glaze on this and let it sit, and then pull this joker in about 15 minutes. So we'll be right back. Well, alright guys, we are back, and this is the finished product. I'm going to find the twine here, cut it off each section, and that's going to be a bad one. Let's see, get that. Everything looks wonderful. We have let this sit in the smoker with the heat turned down, everything closed off, and the apple glaze, that Daigle's apple heat sitting on there. And get these ties off, last one here, and we will be good to go. All right. Let's go ahead and get all of these out of the way. Kind of like with a steak contest, you really don't want to get a piece of meat that still has some twine on it, so we're going to remove this, get it out of the way. We've got juice just pooling underneath, so I think we're going to be in good shape. We'll go ahead and slice off one end here. Oh yeah. Slice in here. I was planning on tying this off to have the slices, the twine marks at slice marks, but as you saw earlier, we went a little bit big on the slices there, so that worked out really, really well. We've got the curl of the apples and the onions going through there. We've got a nice smoke ring going around the outside edge. Let me clean my hands off and try to get you a little bit of a closer view of what we've got here. You can see we definitely have some juice going on. We've got the spiral of apple and onion mixture going on in the middle there. And you know what time it is now. It's time to try this out. So without further ado, I brought a knife to cut into it, but obviously the knife is not needed. I want to get a little bit of the apple and the onion too. There's still a little crispiness to the apple, which is good. That's what I wanted. I didn't want it just to be mush. Oh wow, yeah. That's phenomenal. The apple and the onion are both soft, but they're not just mush. They've got just a little, that earful of crunch that you can hear as you're chewing, but it's it's a good soft crunch, if that makes any sense. Oh yeah, that is really good. The apple flavor is really good. That apple heat glaze on the outside is not really super hot at all. It's a good balanced heat. And then you can get a little bit of the jalapeno pepper flavor from that honey jalapeno seasoning I put on it, and the bark on the outside. Like I said, the chutney is really good because it's not overcooked. It's not over soft. It's wow, that's really good. I got to go in again. I'm sorry. You get the fruit, the onion, it's not really a whole lot of sweet to it either. I mean, you can get a hint of it, but it's not overpowering. It's not like a competition rib that's just super sweet or anything like that. That is really, really good. And of course, you can see we've got a good bit of it left out of 3 large slices. There's another 2, 4, 6, 8, at least 8 slices to go here on a 6-pound pork loin. So really, really good. Just to kind of run down what we did in this recipe, we got the whole pork loin, not a tenderloin. I keep calling it a tenderloin, but the whole pork loin. And we kind of filleted it. We just kind of started cutting on one end, cut down and then across to get this wraparound situation. And of course, we did have some butchering marks in there that kind of made some holes. And it's never going to be just absolutely perfect. But just so that you can open it up, lay in your chutney, your apple. You know, some chutneys are made with, you make chutney with any kind of fruit, peaches, pineapples, apples, anything like that. Mixing in the fruit and the vegetables, making that mixture to lay into the meat, and then roll the meat back up like we did and tied it off so it would all stay together. Smaller ones you could probably use just toothpicks, but I wanted to be secure since this was a larger piece of pork loin. I didn't want to take the chance on those toothpicks not holding everything together and everything just leaking right back out. But um, we wrapped everything up. We seasoned it inside and out with the honey jalapeno seasoning. Put it on the smoker. The smoker ran between 225 and 250 for, let's see, I'm going to say 2.5 hours. We ran it for an internal temperature. I put the apple glaze over the top of it at 148. So you're between 145, 150. Go ahead and put a little glaze on it if you want to on the outside. We let it stay on the smoker for another 15 minutes and then pulled it off, and here we are. You can see there's absolutely no lack of moisture. We're sitting in all these wonderful juices right now. The vegetables and the fruit inside are still a little bit crisp, but not crunchy. I guess that's really kind of what I'm looking for. They're not soggy and mushy like they would be if I had cooked them down and then put them in here. So I think that worked out really well doing the chutney that way, that cheating glaze. Again, not going through some of the online recipes where I'm doing my own honey, molasses, brown sugar, all those other ingredients, having to heat those up to mix everything together. Using the Daigle's apple heat was kind of a cheat for me, which was very good. I mean, I'm just now starting to catch a little tingle from the spices in that apple heat, which is really, really good. So mixing the fruit, mixing the vegetables, mixing all that with the corresponding Daigle's heat product. If you want to do apple, a pineapple, you could do pineapple heat. If you wanted to do peaches, you could do peach heat. I mean, they've got different flavors that you could incorporate with the corresponding fruits. So mixing all that together inside this meat, cooking it for 2.5 to 3 hours between 225 and 250, got us to the internal temperature to 145, 150. Where I could put some more glaze over the top of it just to get a little more flavor on the outside. Worked out really, really great. So thank y'all for tuning in again. If you will, please like and subscribe to the channel so that you'll get updates whenever we send out or publish the new videos. If you have any questions for me, I try to answer all of my online messages as quick as I can. Be sure to message me on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter at UnclePookie'sBarbecue.com. That's our website address, or Uncle Pookie Barbecue on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And I hope y'all enjoy. Have a great evening. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you soon.